Hey y'all, my name is Kayla and welcome to my cozy chaotic corner of the internet. In today's video, we have a double header, double feature. I decided to delve into the world of Booktok smut. Y'all, when I tell you that these two books are so different and yet so much the same, I was shell-shocked. And now you may be sitting here wondering, like, Kayla, what are the books? Give us the tea, get us the hot goss. Well, ladies and gentlemen, grab your pumpkin spice lattes and let's chat. I read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which is a part of this new Dream Harbor series, and I was like, well, the Cinnamon Bun bookstore literally just came out, so I guess I'll read that as well. And let's just we're just gonna hop into it. Let's just get into it. First and foremost, these book covers, cute, adorable, love them. Actually, I forgot. I own one of them. One second. I forgot that I own this because I consumed both of these books in the audiobook version. But after listening to The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore, I was like, that was cute. That's like a fun little, just like cute book. So I'll buy it. Plus, I knew this cover was adorable. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but it has like a little gold foiling on the front. And y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I'm gonna buy the second one. So let's get into it. To kick things off, we're gonna chat about The Pumpkin Spice Cafe because this is book 1 in the Dream Harbor series. So obviously, you gotta start with talking about this. So we all know how like romances that exist in a fantasy realm have been around for a very long time, but because of the increase in popularity, we've made up a new genre for them called romantasy. Well, I would like to propose a genre, a type of book that has been around for quite some time, at least the past 20 years, I know because I've read books like this in my youth, but it's a romance that has a mystery in it. So my proposal to the Booktube universe is Romystery. I don't know if it'll stick, but that's what the Dream Harbor series are. They're romance with like really innocent mystery components. Our story starts with Jeannie. She's from the big city. What big city? I don't recall. Boston, New York, something like that. She moves to Dream Harbor, which is a small town in New England. What New England state? I can't recall. And she moves there to take over her great aunt coffee shop. And the coffee shop is called the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. The reason she's taking over this coffee shop is because her relative is tired of the hustle and bustle of being an owner of a store. She just wants to kind of retire, settle down. She's like, here are the keys, Jeannie. Enjoy. Day 1 of Jeannie kind of like taking over the coffee shop. I think her shtick is she listens to or pays attention to a lot of true crime. So she's just like a little on edge, a little cautious of things. Something looks suspicious and she's like, that looks suspicious. She is at the back entrance of the coffee shop, about to get ready, when she sees a man there. A very large, lumberjack looking, of course he's attractive, man. And she's like, who the heck are you? And he's like, I'm here with your pumpkin, like squash order. She's like, I didn't order these. We're a coffee shop. Why do we need all these pumpkins? She's very confused. Well, it turns out that the pumpkins are for decorating. So apparently the aunt had every year would order squash and stuff from the local farmers. Our lumberjack in fuzzy flannel, his name is Logan, and he is the town's hottie, but like brooding hottie. Everyone knows Logan, and they're very defensive of him because Logan's story is that he met a woman who was in town, I think for a bachelorette party, and they had one hot and heavy night. They kicked it off, things were going well, and she came in, was living there for a while. They were having a great time. But Logan is very determined to stay in his small coastal town, which we love. I'm not gonna lie, y'all, small coastal towns, I think that's life for me. Growing up, I was always like, I'm a big time city girl, but after living in New Hampshire, I was like, I wouldn't mind living just somewhere small and secluded. I love the idea. I'd much prefer it. Just a quaint little town. I think that's more my vibe the older I get. But anyways, the woman he was with, she was not about that life. I think eventually she really wanted to move back to the cities. And in an ideal world, like Logan would go with her. What ends up happening is Logan does this big, grand public proposal. anyone, if you plan on proposing to someone, like do it not in a big public way, unless you know that's their vibe, unless you know for sure without a doubt in your mind that they would love to be the center of attention in that kind of way. Just don't do it. And she publicly says no. Jeannie and Logan, they're both very attracted to each other. Every other chapter is from the other person's perspective. So we start with Jeannie, and then after Logan meets Jeannie, we get Logan's perspective. These are a little spicy, a little smutty. And this book was really cute in the way that although, yes, they were constantly acknowledging each other's physical attributes and like what they would like to do to each other, there wasn't really anything raunchy about it until the end. This is like as slow burn as you can be in the sense that they're constantly like, eyeballing each other. The thing that's going on, the mystery part of the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, is that the coffee shop constantly, like, just weird things are happening. Things are getting moved. The power's going out. Cans behind the store are getting knocked over. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that's going on, and it continues to escalate over time. So the first event of Jeannie and Logan is like, Logan's like, well, I can help you figure out, like, what's going on, because all this stuff seems to be happening at night. And so him and Jeannie have like a little stakeout at night in the coffee shop. They're in the coffee shop, they got their pizza, they got their stakeout foods, they got everything. They're like, well, I mean, nothing's happened yet, so I guess we'll fall asleep. So they have like these little sleeping bags. They're sleeping on the floor, getting a little cozy, getting a little comfy, about to do some smooching, and all of a sudden they hear like a bang. Something fell over. And this little white cat, this little dude right here, ends up being in the coffee shop. And turns out the cat doesn't really belong to anyone, so Jeannie takes the cat, and his name is now Casper because he was the cafe's ghost. And I thought that was so cute. That was so adorable. But Casper's not the reason things are still going amok. Eventually, we find out that one of the workers at the coffee shop is an older gentleman, and he knows like the ins and the outs of the coffee shop. He was the aunt's like most trusted employee. He was the one who was kind of sabotaging things because he was under the guise that like if the aunt were ever to leave, like she would have left the coffee shop for him. And he's all like, but now you're just leaving it to your yuppity niece. Little side quest romance is that the aunt was like, well, I mean, I always liked you and I figured you would have just come traverse the world with me. And he's like, well, I always liked you too, but you should have just asked. Ugh. We love a good miscommunication. The whole drama, third act breakup with Logan and Jeannie is things are getting really good. They're really enjoying each other. But Logan is very concerned because Jeannie is a big city girl, right? Just like his last girlfriend who broke his heart. So he's very concerned that Jeannie is just like here for a short time, not a long time. His suspicions are kind of like piqued and kind of confirmed, he thinks, because Jeannie was offered to have someone wants to buy the coffee shop from her. So she just so happened to have like all the papers laid out on her kitchen table one day, and he was over. And not only that, but also like Jeannie hadn't unpacked yet, and it had already been months, and she just hadn't unpacked all of her stuff. It was all in boxes. So he's like, oh, she's like literally, she has no intention of staying here. Plus seeing like, the possibility of selling the place, he's like, she doesn't want to be here. So he gets all in a harumph and doesn't even talk to her about it, just kind of like leaves. And so a third act miscommunication breakup. Things like quickly they resolve it. Everything's great. But once they resolve everything, literally, I would say this is when all the smut happens. And it's just kind of like a whiplash because up until that point, it was just kind of like very heavy flirtation and some makeout sessions. And then all of a sudden you're just like boinking every 5 seconds. So that was interesting. But this was really cute. And again, I just really liked the cover. I thought it was adorable. So I was like, okay, I'll buy it. The cinnamon bun bookstore. Our two main characters in the Cinnamon Bun bookstore are Noah and Hazel. Those are our love interests. And so we met Noah and Hazel in the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. In the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. It should be the Pumpkin Spice Cafe because row mystery. So Noah and Hazel. Hazel is in her late 20s, about to turn 30. That's like her whole shtick. It's summertime. She's about to turn 30. And she spent her like entire life just kind of being a bookworm, kind of being like the good girl, never misbehaving. And she's kind of like, I just want to have like a fun summer for like once in my life. I just want to do things like that aren't typical of me. And Noah is this out-of-towner. He came in on a boat one day and he's been staying for the past few summers, but everyone is like kind of in the sense where Logan thought Jeannie was just gonna pick up and leave one day. Everyone just kind of thought that of him. He's kind of notorious for sleeping around with all the tourists, so he has like the bad boy shtick going on. We knew Noah had a thing for Hazel in this book, okay? We knew that because Noah was really good friends with Logan, and Logan and Hazel, they aren't actual brother and sister, but they've known each other for so long, and they're like the only child in their families. They were just like, we're brother and sister. Logan's very protective of Hazel, and so when Noah initially in this book was like, hey, I got a thing for Hazel, he was just like, you better not F things up, brother. This happens so often where I'm like recording a video and then my camera just stops recording and I don't notice it until I'm done. The book starts with Hazel at the bookstore. She finds a defaced book. The audacity, the atrocity, the scandal. This is where the row mystery element comes in. So she finds this defaced pirate smut book. It's defaced because it has a dog-eared page, and on that dog-eared page, someone had underlined a certain sequence of words. I don't remember what the exact turn of phrase was that was highlighted, but it pretty much alluded to like, seize the day, find your own adventure, something along those lines. And the thing is, Hazel was literally just thinking about how I'm turning 30 and I just kind of want to like switch things up before I turn 30. And as she's kind of like ogling at the fact that someone defaced a book, Noah walks into the store. So Noah is like doing his darndest to like spend as much time with Hazel as humanly possible without actually telling her that he likes her. He just goes in all the time looking for book recommendations. And she constantly is giving him all these book recommendations, just thinking, is like, yeah, right, like he's actually reading these. Well, it turns out he is. He's a big time fantasy nerd, we find to discover. But as he walks into the store, again, Hazel's like, oh my God, I can't believe. As soon as she hears him like be like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, nothing. What does it look like I'm doing? Just hanging out at the bookstore, waiting for guests to come in. Pretty slow day. And he's like, well, what is that you're reading? And again, it's spicy pirate smut. And he finds it and he's like, ooh, what is this? This looks fun. And she's like, I wasn't reading it. It's defaced. And he's like, oh my God, it's defaced. And she shows him and he's like, oh my God, it's crazy. What ends up happening is Hazel finds another defaced book. But this other defaced book mentions wild blueberries. And she tells Noah about it because it just so happens that every time Hazel finds a defaced book, Noah just appears at the bookstore. Coincidence? We'll just have to wait and see. But what ends up happening is they both get invited to a bonfire at Logan's family farm. Hazel is like going inside to use the restroom, grabs a bottle of wine to go, and then she like kind of takes a detour and is like, oh my God, I totally forgot that they had a little blueberry farm here. And so she's like, oh my God, the book mentioned blueberries. So she's sitting in this little blueberry patch getting drunk on the bottle of wine that she was supposed to bring out to everyone else at the bonfire. And Noah finds her and he's like, hey, we were all wondering what happened to you. And she tells him about like the books more. And she's like, I think they're clues and I kind of want to follow them. And she's like, I want you to be my adventure buddy for the summer. And he's like, okay, yeah, sure. And she ends up making out with him. They spend the summer kind of like following these random clues to have adventures. And of course, just like in the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, these people don't know how to properly communicate to each other because they're both under the assumption that like the other person thinks this is just like a temporary thing for the summer. It's not going to be anything serious, even though both of them want something serious out of it. Unlike the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, where the third act breakup lasted a few weeks, The third act breakup in this book was very minor, very subtle. I think it lasted maybe a day or two. It was due to the fact that Noah was going to be going home to help out with his family because his sister is pregnant, but she's having some complications, so she has to be on bed rest. Well, his sister has a daughter already, and he's like, well, I'll just come home and help out like around the house while you're on bed rest, because he's like this guy who just kind of like came out of nowhere. He's not from the town. Everyone in town is under the assumption that he doesn't want to lay roots because he doesn't date locals. So Hazel is like, oh, you're just gonna like leave and not come back. It's okay, whatever. And he's like, no, 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 no. She doesn't communicate to them right away, but as soon as he finds out like her assumption on what's going on, he's like, no, that's not the, I'm literally gonna be going home for like a couple months tops just to like help with my sister. And then he's like, and then I'm coming back, because he's actually working on this project where on the coastline, there are a bunch of abandoned shacks that are owned by the town, but like no one's doing anything with them. They're just kind of turning into dilapidated shacks. And he has the idea of like, why don't we like take these shacks, spruce them up, make them nice again, and turn them into like vacation rentals. And so that's his little project. He's like, so I have to come back because like this is like my passion project. Their third act breakup lasts all of 2 seconds. They get together, everything's grand and peachy and wonderful. Now, the reason the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore is such a far departure from the Pumpkin Spice Cafe is because, again, smut, heavy flirtation, smut in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. So you have like this slow burn romance here, and in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, it's like, things are going down. You know, so that was startling because you think they're kind of going to be the same pacing. Definitely not. I'm very interested though in the third book that's coming out because it's The Christmas Tree Farm. And we have met the main character of The Christmas Tree Farm in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, because this town is very Gilmore Girls coded in the sense that they have town halls where the entire town comes to these town hall meetings. And so one of the topics of the town hall meeting in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore is the Christmas Tree Farm and how it's been purchased by someone, and everyone's freaking out. They're like, oh my God, is it gonna be a Christmas tree farm again? What's going on? The person who bought the Christmas Tree Farm is running late to the meeting. She shows up to the meeting and she is very startled by the fact that literally everyone is there. The entire town is there staring at her. And she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And everyone's like, is it gonna be a Christmas tree farm? Is it gonna be a Christmas tree farm? Is it gonna be a Christmas tree farm? And she's like, I'm just telling you all right now, this is not gonna be a Christmas tree farm. And then she just leaves. And everyone's like, what the fudge? You know, so I'm intrigued because she seemed very standoffish. And I have a sense, I don't know, it could be one of two ways. Like maybe she's standoffish, but like gets down to Pound Town, or that is also going to be a slow burn. So we'll see. We'll see. I will note the Pumpkin Spice Cafe took place during the fall. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore took place at the end of summer into fall. So I'm thinking the Christmas Tree Farm will take place obviously in wintertime. And I'm thinking maybe that'll be a little bit of a slow burn because the fall one was a little bit of a slow burn. And then I think the spring one is going to be another fast-paced smut book. Yeah, these are cute, easy, fun reads. They're really cheesy and corny. If you're okay with cheesy, corny, very fast-paced romances, you'll love these books. I mean, I can't get over these gold foiling. These aren't books you take seriously. They're just fun, quick little books. And I had a good time with them. I was a little shell-shocked with the smut in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, not gonna lie. Especially when you compare it to the pacing in the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. But, oh, and again, the mystery part in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore was that people were defacing these books. They had to solve who was defacing the books. It alludes to kind of that Noah's the one that's defacing the books because he always shows up right after Hazel finds a book that's defaced. Nay. Turns out that the people who were defacing the books were her fathers and her mother, because they were just like, we just wanted you to have a fun summer. So That's the real mystery part in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. I'm intrigued that if the Christmas tree farm is going to carry on the real mystery element. We'll see. We shall see. But I hope y'all enjoyed this edition of Booktober. I'll see y'all tomorrow with another book that we can chat about.